Hey everybody! So today a short video about a sponsor that we had live stream with on Twitch, Summoners War Chronicles. If you're familiar with the Summoners War universe and you played Sky Arena for example, then you will be very familiar with the game here as well. It's an action RPG where you can upgrade, get and battle with monsters that you can claim. I've been playing it quite a lot on Twitch, and today I just want to give you a bit of an overview over the game itself and just a couple of tips and tricks for players that are interested to play it here on YouTube. The game is completely cross-platform. One of the things I actually really like about games of this type, because you can play them on your phone, but then when you're at home, for example, you can also play them on the PC. Especially if you're like me and you have like a 2 or 3 monitor setup, that's actually very convenient. So without further ado, a little bit of an intro and then also some tips and tricks about Summoners War Chronicles. Alright, now that you have a little bit of an idea with the trailer, let's get into some of the actual gameplay here. This is one of the repeatable dungeons that you have to go through, and it's one of the farmable ones. So you're trying to get materials for either your monsters, or you want to get items, you want to get runes. And in this case you can already see that I have 3 monsters right now. And the game itself is obviously very heavily hinging on the fact that you're trying to get these guys stronger and stronger as the game progresses. And it's not only the 3 that you select initially, but there's in total 350 monsters in the game that you can collect and you can upgrade. And the more you have on a halfway decent level, the more flexible you are to react to new content and also new bosses and new monsters. And it really makes the game a lot more interesting and easier than at that point. But especially here, this is still a little bit too tough for me. So this is at the beginning of the game. I think I played like 15 hours at that point in time. But as you can already tell from the time and how these fights are going, I am starting to struggle with that one just slightly. The good thing about the farmable dungeons is though that once that you reach the boss on a certain stage and a certain level, you can then always repeat it starting at the boss directly, so you don't have to go through the entire wind up here at the beginning, and that actually is pretty solid. So you're trying to farm just to improve your equipment. We're going to take a bit of a closer look later on also at some of the runes and some of the things that you can do here. General suggestion would be that you want to diversify your composition a little bit. So traditionally you're playing there with 1 damage dealer, with a healer or a support, and then a buffer or a debuffer. And in this case, Naomi, she's my damage dealer. She got recommended to me. I had some help, I gotta admit, because when I streamed the game on Twitch, I had a lot of people coming into my chat and just helping me and just watching and giving me some tips and tricks and suggestions. And she is someone that you can unlock fairly easily at the beginning, and she is quite strong for the early stages. There's tons and tons of stuff to do in the game. Sometimes it's even a little bit overwhelming, to tell you the truth. Now, if you are already familiar with the Summoners War world, then a lot of those things will probably be a bit more accessible to you, or easier accessible, simply because you're familiar with the concepts and you've already encountered them in other games of the series. But there's definitely a ton of stuff to learn. And it also has a huge campaign with tons and tons of quests and side quests. There's world events happening in the game as well. It was a little bit surprising for me the first time that happened, but there's tons of people running around just like doing the quests, the same quests that you do, trying to participate in some of the joint ones. There's obviously party dungeons as well. So pretty much anything that you also know from other games and that you can imagine is at some point represented here too. And in this particular case, as I said, I'm running out of time in just a couple of seconds, as you can see at the top. So getting close. I think I have to beat one more wave. It's a bit of a gear check, and I definitely have to upgrade mine. There's 3 summoners, by the way, that you can pick from, and I initially went for the melee guy. I went for Cleave, but there's also Obia and Kina. One of them has a massive hammer and seemed pretty interesting. We see a ton of them running around. This is the boss, by the way, of that particular dungeon. And you can tell that this is now one of the easier stages that I use to farm, and especially when Naomi gets a good crit out and she's just murdering that thing. So you want to make sure that you have decent crit rate and crit damage on your damage dealer. But yeah, I was at some point really tempted to just go for a different summoner too, because it just looked like with a lot of damage, you have a bit more of an impact. This is more of a tank style that was being played here. Quite interesting as well, but this is Naomi, so this is my main damage dealer, and as you can tell in just a second, it was really... So you can awaken, you can evolve, you can upgrade skills, and you can level them up. And it's all just about getting them stronger and stronger, and the materials that you need, you get them throughout the game. There's daily quests, monthly quests, the usual where you get tons and tons of stuff and resources, especially of course if you are playing regularly. But what was quite important with her was also the rune system that we're going to take another look. I also want to show you one of the other daily dungeons that you can do here. This is my supporter, and he's proccing more so of the max HP that you're trying to get for him, so you have to really make sure that when it comes to runes that you are individually targeting the monsters to make sure that everything is just working properly. I had a bit of an issue with my supporter here, or sorry, with my buffer, because I was always hoping to replace her, so I didn't really invest any resources in her, and she very quickly became my bottleneck. But I didn't really get anyone else where I wanted to just invest those resources. It was a bit of downside. So this is the rune system. This should be pretty familiar if you have played other Summoners War games. But in here you can really customize your monsters even further. And especially on the damage, it has a huge impact. But as I already said, this is one of the other bosses. I found that one pretty cool, especially from the graphics and also some of the mechanics that it had. So there's tons and tons of stuff to do. But this reminded me also a lot, obviously, of some other games, and I like the graphic design quite a bit. It's very on the anime style, and it was pretty cool. And she in particular was kind of fun. It was one of the levels that I was still able to manage, but she can also pack a pretty punch. As I said, though, I have to admit that it was a bit of an issue for me with my buffer. There's obviously also PvP content that you can go for, especially in the late game, and this is where you want to have a little bit more diversity in the lineup that you're equipping, and also with like the monsters that you have just in general. So there's tons of stuff to do in the game. So if this is something that you're generally interested in, then I can definitely recommend it. For me, what was pretty big was also that it was cross-platform. I really like that. I like something I can play on the PC, but also have available on the phone. But that's obviously pretty individual. But yeah, kind of nice. This is, by the way, where you get the runes, and yeah, the higher the better, obviously. So this is a little bit of an overview over the game and what we went over in the Twitch streams as well. And if it's something that you like and something that you enjoy and you want to test it out, then you find a link in the description. You can also find it obviously on Android. Can check it out there. But yeah, so Summoners War Chronicles, I liked it. It's quite fun. So if you guys are looking for a game right now with similar mechanics and features, and maybe you've already played some of the games within that universe and want to test this out as well, then have fun with it. And I hope that you liked the little overview here. See you guys next time.